Let's talk a little bit about taking pictures. Something most people does nowadays with their phone. A lot of people with cameras of all qualities. So first of all, I'm gonna sound like I'm a complete expert and owning this like a lot. I'm not. I'm not even consider myself a photographer, but I worked with electronic to create art for over 25 years. So I used to be a sound engineer for 20 years, and most of my experience around gear is from that. And then you say, but Mikkel, what has sound equipment to do with photo and video equipment? It's a lot. It's the same thing, it's just different. High-end gear is high-end gear in many ways, especially in the creative world, because we need the gear to be able to deliver what we need. In that sense, we need to have the creative... What am I trying to say with this? We need the gear to be able to be an extension of what we want to create. So we need to get to that creative point. And that's why it's similar in many ways. One thing I hated in the start of my sound career was when the gear was limiting my creative. Like, I know I can do this, I know equipment can do this, I just don't have the right equipment. Later on, I will always have the best equipment around, and I will be able to do like almost everything with that equipment because the gear didn't limit me. And that is like my take on gear is, the gear should never limit you. But if you're like an independent filmmaker, an independent whatever artist, of course there will be limitations to your budget, at least in the start, right? So let's talk about the gear first of all. And it matters a lot. Something I never understood is people saying, oh, the gear doesn't matter. It matters a lot. Like, it matters a lot because the better gear you have, the lesser limitation you have to be able to create art, in my opinion. It's not a matter of how good the gear are. You just need the best gear you can get your hands on, because it really matters how good the gear are to be able to not be limited in your creativity. And I always see people... So noisy. And I always see people focus on how good a camera is or how good it is. I would more say it's more like the limiting factor there is a factor for me, because if you have the best gear in the world, like, it doesn't get any better than that before the next version or the next development comes. That thing aside, where the gear doesn't matter is that it should never limit you what you're doing. You should keep on going and then just be fucking annoyed that the gear would limit your creativity. And then at some point you can buy stuff again. Okay, let's talk about my gear. First of all, you can see it's relatively old. It's a Lumix GX5, which mostly is a video camera. I use it for photo only because I shoot everything on this camera, which shoots RAW. We'll talk about that later. But this is what I have. And this is what I have for a bit. At some point, I will buy a real camera and I will buy the top of the line. Same thing with the lens. This is also like a cheap lens. I even bought it used. It had no scratches or anything when I bought it. But because this one always sits on my hip when I'm going outside, just have it clipped on, so it's always with me. Mostly I use this setup for photos. Sometimes I'll use this lens, mostly for like an artist perspective. This is way better than everything else I own right now. Buying gear. So this is the best I have right now. And this lens is a clone of the Noctilux Leica one, which is like $13,000 or something like that. I think this one is around $1,000, and I only paid $500 for it used. See how I can put this the right way around, because when you look at this gear, you will say, oh, this is some cheap shit. But for me, at this time, this is the best I can afford. What I see a lot is people will say, oh, this lens is like $4,000, $5,000, it's so expensive. And then you will look at their photo gear, and then they will have like $3,000, $4,000 or $5,000 or $1,500 lenses, which makes me think, but if you only bought one lens, you could have bought a $5,000 lens instead of 5 cheap $1,000 lenses. And that is the biggest mistake I see people do around gear, is they buy a lot of cheap stuff instead of just one very nice one. And my opinion is, and it doesn't matter if it's audio, video or photo or whatever it is, buy one thing and then the most expensive you can buy. It doesn't make sense to buy a bunch of different lenses. Buy a lens that is the most versatile for what you do. And then at some point you can buy one more expensive lens. It doesn't make sense to buy a lot of cheap stuff at all. Like at all, I don't get it. It makes sense to buy cheap stuff if that's what you can afford. And I would say buy used, nice gear rather than brand new shitty gear. You'll get way more for your money if you can find cheap gear. And a lot of times it's almost like brand new. Like when I bought this lens, the guy that had it used it 2 times. It was like brand new. And he sold it for $500 instead of $1,000 for me. Same thing with the camera I'm filming on. A girl in Spain sold it for me, and she only been using it a couple of times. So that was also brand new, but I got it way cheaper. That's my biggest recommendation around gear, is buy the most expensive you can and then just buy only one. Don't buy 2 cheap ones, buy one expensive one. Many of these people that buy a lot of gear is because they really like gear. They're very obsessed about gear. I am obsessed about high quality gear. Again, coming back to, I want gear to not limit what I'm creating, right? It's a scooter start in just a second. Okay, next thing, you bought the camera, you're very excited about it. What are you gonna do? The first thing you're gonna do is find this menu dial and put it to manual. Everything manual. You're the artist, not the camera. I never used any of the automatic functions. I don't even know what they do. I know it's like shutter priority, I think, and then aperture priority. I never used them. I never ever used them. I think the only times I've been taking a photo in that is like if I by accident had it and took a photo before I looked at anything. And then I'll be like, what is happening? Always manual, everything manual. I would say also like manual focus is as close. In theory, if you do like portrait shots, I guess you can use the autofocus. Everything else, do it by hand. And especially if you're using these mechanical lenses, there is nothing electronic in this lens. It's all mechanical, everything around it. So there is no lag when I do that. And I think a lot of people are afraid of manual focusing because they use the electronic thing, which sometimes have a little bit of lag, which is really annoying. But if you just buy like dumb lenses, they can't do anything, like then there's nothing. And like it's not difficult. You just do like that and then it works, right? See if we can do it like this. I don't know if you can see even, but it's just like, it's very easy. All blurry, focus, and then too long. kind of. It's hard for me to see the screen. I can kind of see it, but you just do like that, and as you see, it's super fast to do also. Like this is as fast as a manual focus lens can manual focus. Autofocus will do also. It's super easy, and as soon as you get used to doing this, you can kind of do it very fast. And again, coming back to you're the artist, not the gear or not the camera, because the camera doesn't know what you want in focus. Maybe it's the person in front of you, maybe it's that cup the person is holding, maybe it's the sign on the side of the road. Like, the camera don't know that. So in that sense, if you need the sign on the side of the road, and if you're using autofocus, you have to put it there and then put it back, and before all of that happened, like, that background that you wanted for that sign has changed, and then again the camera was the artist, you're not. So everything manual, it's not that difficult, and as soon as you learn it fast, you can do it fast. I saw something about people doing wedding photography, and they also used everything manual. And one of the places where you have to be the fastest on your camera is a wedding, right? And if they can do it, everybody can do it. On the street, you always have time. So what I will do if I walk around and I go outside, and today this weather is like kind of shifting, raining and then sunny. When I'm walking around and I know I might take a photo, I might not take a photo, then I make sure that the settings are kind of right for the brightness around, and the aperture I will like take a picture in. Of course I will change the aperture and shutter speed all the time, but I just have it like kind of in the right range, so I don't have to like go from one end to the other. So again, back to you being the artist, everything manual. I can't say it enough. I don't understand people that have anything auto at all. Like, I don't even know how the auto functions work, because it's not interesting for me at all. I guess we can talk about gear all night long. I just want to point out once again, key factors: buy the best you can do, buy only one, everything manual. Like, everything manual. If you do those two things, you're already light years ahead of everybody else, because so many people buy cheap gear. I know this is cheap, but I just had the explanation about why this is cheap, and then the whole everything on manual. Like, you're the artist, not the camera. Now I said it 5 times. I'll try to not say it again. That's everything around gear for now, at least. What is going on? So my plan was actually to walk around, take some photos, talk a little bit about the whole process, but it's kind of raining and then not raining and raining and not raining. So what I think I'm gonna do is tomorrow we're gonna do that. But we can do a little exercise here, which I do a lot. Or at least I used to do a lot when I was like trying to get better at taking photos. Okay, the first sad news is, if you don't have it in you, you don't have it in you. I'm sorry, you can't learn it. Like, framing and all that stuff is... What are they doing over there? Framing, finding the picture and all that stuff, it's just something that will come to you. You can't really learn it. Like, it's a matter of taste, it's a matter of being able to get the photo in. Like, I would say 99% of the photos I take comes to me and not the other way around. So sometimes I'll go out, think, oh, I'll drink coffee, walk around, take photos, and I take the camera up, nothing happens. I don't see a single picture around me, like a really nice one. And some days it's just like that. I'll put the camera back, just go for a walk. Other times I'm just walking around and so many pictures will happen in front of me. So in many ways, the picture finds you, you don't find the picture. That said, something you can practice is just walk somewhere, stand in a single point, and then find as many photos as you can, which I'll be able to do here. It's of course a little bit hard to do sometimes if you are in a place where nothing happens or whatever, but there will always be some kind of photo around you in some kind of way. So I can just, there's a girl over here sitting on her phone, and now there's a cat coming, and if I'm very lucky, that cat will walk on the side of her, and now the cat is the image more than her, right? And same thing here. There is some cables hanging out, and now the sun is shifting. There you go. So that was 2 photos. I guess the one with the cat and that didn't look that great. The one with the cable here is pretty cool. Also with the shadow from the cables and all that. And here on the other side here, a guy sitting on a box and somebody shows up. Of course, again, Bangkok, very easy to take street photography. Same thing, New York, like being a New York street photographer, you have a very easy job. Just point your camera in one direction and you have like a very nice photo. And of course, you never really know exactly if the photo is perfect before you put it onto the computer. So never delete any pictures or anything like that on the, what is it called? On the camera itself. Like, just have enough space on the card. That is a great exercise to do. This like single position thing, and often you can find, at least if you're in a city, you'll be able to find at least 5 decent nice photos from one position. The really nice pictures, as I said before, comes to you. It's either being fast of getting it out of your clip, if you have it like me on the side, if you have it here on a strap, which a lot of people have. I find that very annoying when I'm walking around with it all the time. When it's here, I never really think about it. And the last one is to have it in your hand, which if I'm really want to take photos and I'm walking in areas where I know there will be a lot of photos, I'll just have it in my hand, either like this or just like this, and then I can put it up and take a photo as soon as I see the picture coming to me. Something I forgot about gear is I see a lot of people being overprotected about their gear. I think that will limit your creativity. Just don't f around with it, but it's not a little child. And the better gear you buy, the more bumps it can take. Like you can see, this one is very beaten up in many ways, works perfectly. Same thing with changing lenses and stuff like that. People are very like, oh, dust. If it gets dust, you clean it. Like, that's how it works. It's not that like, just don't fool around, but don't be overprotected. It's gear, it's meant to be used. If you want to protect it, put it on the shelf and then just always just look at it. So when you want to take the lens out, just like, and then keep the sensor downwards, and then don't, of course not do it if it's like very stormy and there's sand flying everywhere. Then like go around the corner where there's no wind. But in general, don't be overprotected. And if it gets dirty, just clean it. It's not that difficult. Why I thought about all this is you're probably gonna ask me, what is this rubber band doing right here? And what it does is, it's when I'm filming with this one, which I do use a lot. But because I need to shoot it wide open, it of course need an ND filter. So what I do is I have these ones here, and then I have this one which goes on here normally, like it screws on to this one, but it can't screw on to this one because this one is so big. So what I will do is I will do like that, and then put this very, normally it will be with 2 hands this. There you go. One, and then the other one, oh, that way, like that. And that will keep the filter on, and then I can use that. Of course, with a photo you don't really need that unless you're doing whatever blurry stuff. And then when I'm filming, I can then Like, oh, there you go. Change it like that. And because this sensor is super small, it doesn't use all of the lens. That's why it's possible to do it this way around. And the sensor size is the same on this camera as on this one, same mount, so I can always just swap them around when I need to. This is a super nice filter, and I'm super happy about like having this. I used to own a red where I use this one as a filter in here, so it's not even meant to go in front of the lens, but it works perfectly like this also. Again, be a little bit innovative with your gear also. It works out. Then I didn't have to buy an expensive filter for this lens also. I can just use it like this. It looks crazy, but it works very well. It looks crazy, but it works very well. I can't speak. Well, see you out in the wild. Hopefully it will be dry tomorrow. It's been raining like crazy here the last few days, especially like in the afternoon, which it is right now. Hopefully we'll be able to find some nice spots, and then I will show you like in real life how I normally would take a photo. I will go over here, very cinematic places. Okay, it's the next day and we out in the wild, sort of. Okay, first thing we have to remember is we have to be very respectful about everything around us. Intelligent people are always very respectful. I've never seen an intelligent person be nothing but respectful about the surroundings. Definitely gonna make that a teacher one day and a whole video around that topic. So that's the first thing. We don't wanna be in the way or anything like that in any people. No picture is that important that we can do that. We're not trying to win the tour, we're just taking photos for fun. I see a lot of people like being in the way or not being respectful when they take photos, especially video. We always want to be very respectful. And that also means if we're gonna take photos of people, especially up close, we will always ask for the permission. How I normally do it, take the camera, point like that, okay? 99% of the time people would be okay. Don't put the camera in people's face and take a photo. I remember being in Hanoi in Vietnam at a noodle shop, and this guy, start 50s or something like that, just went to a woman that just said, please no photos, right up in her face and took a photo with his shiny Leica. Like very weird situation there, very weird. We don't want to be like that guy at all. Very respectful all the time. So if we're gonna shoot people relatively up close, I would say if you don't see the face, it's okay. But everything like within 10 meters or something like that, we need to ask. Yesterday I talked a little bit about the framing, and I don't think I phrased it the right way around, about you can't learn it. You will be better and better of seeing it, but I don't think if you don't have it in you, you will not be able to learn to do the proper framing. You will get better, but you will never be an expert. That was kind of what I meant by that. Hope it's more clear now. And anyways, it doesn't matter because every photo is a photo and it has its own character. There's craft and there's non-craft. Don't say non-craft, oh, this is just art, that's how it is. No, we have to learn to do the craft also. That's something I've seen a lot in the sound industry. If something sounded like shit, they would just call, oh, it's supposed to be like that. No, it sounds like shit. Different story. So it's a little bit hard because I'm just me and the tripod. Normally I would walk around and then the photo would kind of come to me, which is very unpredictable, and it's a little bit hard to film and take a photo at the same time with the setup I have right now. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna find photos, again, single spot. But I walk on this street a lot. I've just been eating at this little restaurant right here. normally it's also a situation that pops up with a photo, people walking past and stuff like that. That's the best one. But it's also, here is a static set. There is a little shop here. There's an alley here, super beautiful. And there are some, what are they called in English? Satellite receivers, maybe. So there are a few really nice pictures just by standing right here. So now we're out shooting in the wild. And that also means we have to, again, we the artist, not the camera. So put your camera in burst mode and just do like this. The camera is the artist, not you. So if people are walking and you want them to be in a specific spot, or the situation with the cat yesterday, where I waited and just like kind of wish that cat to go in the frame as I wanted to. So that's, we have to predict the future sometimes like that, and not just do like that. I see some of these POV videos on YouTube where people walk around, take photos, and then a lot of times they'll just do like this and then wish like for luck. And then they might get a great shot, and then they would claim that they took that beautiful picture. But they didn't. The camera did, because you took, I don't know, 30 pictures or something like that. I don't understand why you want to do that. We're not trying to show off, we're trying to actually craft what we're doing. Same thing with the post-production. See a lot of photos still today where it's not real photo, like it's a clip art you're watching, and you can see it doesn't say anywhere that this picture doesn't exist in the real world. But if you just know a little bit about photos, a lot of these pictures you can see that this is not real. So again, today it's like cloudy, sunny, cloudy, sunny. Some photos would be very nice with clouds, some of them would be wet, blah, blah, blah. Some photos would be very nice with the sun so you can see the shadows. And then some photos, it's a little bit nicer with this like very soft light the clouds give us. So this is a 50mm on a micro four thirds sensor. So this is very beamy. So it's a little bit hard for me to take some photos because it's like very, very zoomed in. But already here, looking at the other side here, there are a door full of plants around it. And that is already now a super nice photo. There you go. One single shot, and that's it. Again, I wish that it was a little bit wider, the lens, for this to have everything around here. We can try and take one the other way also. There you go. And by the way, I'll make every photo black and white because YouTube does weird stuff with colors, and I have like a mastering layer that kind of shift whatever colors around and stuff like that. So I'm not really comfortable with doing all kinds of color stuff. It's fine. Okay, now the sun is coming up a little bit. So the satellite receivers, I don't know what they're called in English, looks great with the shadows. I'm gonna take a photo of that now. And then again, as we talked about yesterday with manual focus, there are a lot of cables in front, so I'm gonna try and take photos of the cables and then have like all the colorful stuff in the background, which means this picture has to be in color, of course. Pretty nice. There is like a surveillance camera here, and then kind of have like layers all the way in. So the camera is in focus with the cables around there. The next cables are a little bit blurry, and then you have the background completely blurry. I didn't sleep much this night, and actually it's not yesterday, was not yesterday. Yesterday was 2 days ago, because somebody I know right up here that have a store to sell tea and stuff, she wanted to try to make some hot coffees for the tourists, and she asked me to come and taste it yesterday. So I went there in the morning, and then I walked with the camera to a place over here where it's like, it's very classic street photographer area, street photography area. But it was like completely packed with people, and then I came back, it started raining. So this area is way better. And now we have light over here also. And then this night, people were noisy in my room, and people put up the AC, so it was like I was shaking, freezing at all of a sudden in the middle of the night. So again, a little bit of light came on the plants over here, and then a guy walked past, and he's enough from behind that I feel like I don't have to ask for his permission to take the photo. Right over here, that alley, but there's also like a huge gas, what is it called? Can? It's not called a can. And then the light again. Perfect for black and white with the high contrast with the shade and then the light. And there's actually a little chair that I have a little bit of light on. And as you saw there, this woman waits with, for me it's always a little bit embarrassing because I don't want people to wait. So I didn't see her before or after. So I of course did like that to say thank you to her for waiting. So if you see me taking photos or video, just walk through the frame. And over here again, plants with light on looks, at least on here, looks amazing. So as I talked about yesterday also, never delete anything in the camera. Something that will look amazing here might look like shit on the computer and the other way around. So always wait until you get back home. Like half of the picture sometimes would be the editing of the photo. I would say I do not that much to the photo, so for me it's not like that. Feel like we already have a few very nice shots here. So as I talked about before, don't spray with the camera and just shoot all over. So I can't remember what it's called in photography language, but there are like a percentage, maybe people just call the percentage, on the frames they use and post. Mine is probably 80%, maybe a little bit higher. So when you take a photo and then you say you take 10 photos, I will use probably 7, 8 or 9 of these photos I take because it's an art, it's a craft. I see the photo and then I take it. I'm not trying to be lucky and just shoot all over. That's why the percentage is so high. I guess for a lot of other people it might be 5% or something like that. For me, yeah, it's high. 70 to 90% of the photos I take, I will actually use. There is a little twist to that because that's like subject based, but sometimes I will rack the focus a little bit, especially in bright daylight. It can sometimes be a little bit hard with the manual focus. Then I just take 3 shots of the same thing and rack the focus a little bit back and forth so I know I have like the focus that I need. Again, that's it. I have a lot of really nice focus. That being said, a photo doesn't have to be in focus. I have a lot of really nice pictures. There's nearly in focus or like completely out of focus, and it works perfectly. Again, it's art. It's a matter of taste and nothing else. Same thing with everything I say might be true to me and to other people. It's a whole family with all dreadlocks. That's amazing. And other people will be like, what is all that bullshit he's talking about? So that was the first thing I said in the video, right? I don't see myself as a photographer. I see myself as somebody that uses electronics to create art, and I've been doing it for 25 years. Not that time has anything to do with your skill, though. I have some very strong opinion about how stuff should be done, and what I have even more is opinions about who you have to learn from. Don't learn from some smart ass YouTuber like me. Find the people on YouTube that have it as a side hobby but have been working with their craft for decades. Normally not very super flashy videos with crazy intros and all that shit. It's just pure teaching. So there are this store here, and this older woman working in there. It would be amazing to have a photo of her in there, but I don't think she speaks English, and To be honest, I don't think she want a photo taken. But we can take a photo of her store when she's like in the back, because it's gonna be so dark inside that you won't see her. Or I would like make it that dark that you don't see her. And here again, my camera is a little bit too zoomed in to actually have the store properly. I will walk here and take a photo down that alley here. So I took 2 pictures of that, and that's what I mentioned before about not just spraying. It's also way easier when you have to look through the pictures afterwards, that there's only 1 or 2 shots instead of 10. And I think, in theory, both of these ones would be nice. So there's one where the alley is in focus, and then there's the other one where the plant in front is in focus, but we have this very nice, like, blurry, cinematic kind of alley in the background. Both photos quite cool. So that is what normally would happen, is I will walk past here, then see that, and then see that. And then we have all of the people stuff. There's so many like street photographer. Sometimes it's impressive, like a small street like this, and then it's like full of traffic all of a sudden. Like an actual traffic jam. And I completely forgot what I was saying. I think I was saying something where there's so much street food around, which makes very nice photos. And that's again the thing about Bangkok being so cinematic. So let's call this part 1. I'm definitely gonna make a lot more of these videos. I actually really like making these. I don't know why it got so noisy. There will be a lot more of that. I have a lot of opinions about gear and how to do stuff and all that. And then remember, don't listen to me and don't listen to anybody, but listen to everybody, but pick what you think is right for you. And that is kind of how you should do it. And that is how you develop your own skill and your own style, is to steal from everybody and listen to no one. There is one rule, and that is there is no rule. There's no right or wrong in anything. And learn from what you do right, not from what you do wrong. Like, learn from your mistakes. I never understood that sentence. I never ever. There's nothing to learn from a mistake, just don't do it again. There's a whole lot of learn from what you do right. And then you can find stuff to do right, get better at that, like focus on what you do right and then make it even better than that. So learn from what you do right. Like, that's gonna be a t-shirt for me also one day. Nothing to learn from what you do wrong. Nothing, just don't do it again. A lot of stuff to learn. That's how I developed all of my sound skill, is to learn from what I did right. And then be annoyed about everything you did wrong. Don't do it again. Okay, now I'm just talking and talking and talking. I hope you like this video, and I really enjoyed making it. I know there was a lot of talk, and I want to do some more where we walk around. Maybe also the next city I will be in, I can do that also. Like make a part 2 there. Same thing about video making. I also want to like do more about how to approach video making from a raw level. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you got something out of this. And if there's any questions to anything, leave them in the comments. If it's something that makes sense to answer on text, I will do that. And if it's better for a part 2, we'll then have it for a part 2. Okay. So thank you so much for watching, and then see you in the next one. Bye.